Hello again and welcome to our final session here from RAF Cranwell for Parents' Evening Live. 30 minutes on the way, all about life after an apprenticeship. Can you talk us a bit about your journey so far in that regard? Because although actually, Lewis, because of your sort of officer role, it isn't actually offered or advertised on not going to uni, but it just shows that there are still ways in even without a degree.
Absolutely. So I didn't have a degree. I did my sixth form qualifications and then joined straight up. And after 4 years already serving, I then took my commission across, having done my apprenticeship whilst I was in the other ranks.
And so what was that process like to go through? Did you feel quite prepared for it? Talk us through the journey and the stumbling blocks.
So being in the career path that it did set me up quite well within the RAF. Sort of internally transferring across to the commission side. Stumbling blocks that I found was getting back into that training routine for me, especially having done 4 years and then coming back into that phase 1 training establishment here at Cranwell, and then sort of starting my career again.
Well, you say you started it again, so your plans clearly changed. This wasn't sort of something you wanted to do from the get-go, or was there always something in the back of your mind that was going to lead you this way?
Yeah, there was something in the back of mind that I did want to commission, and then I applied. The same process, selection process as everybody else does, and here we are now. 2 years later. 2 years later,
here we are. And Ewan, coming back to you now, you're a gold medal winner, I hear. Not Olympic-wise, but talk us through the gold medal scenario for you.
So I recently took part in the 46th International World Skills Competition. I represented the United Kingdom in aircraft maintenance.
So pretty close to Olympic standard then, yeah.
We like to call it the Olympics of skills.
Amazing.
And as you said, won the gold medal.
And so how did that opportunity come about then?
So actually, it was when I was going through my phase 3 training. I was selected by my line management because I was doing well in my course. They put me forward for the nationals, so I took part in the nationals in 2019. And since then, I've been involved with World Skills. Earlier this year, in March, I was selected to be the UK's representative, and since then, I've been more intensively training. And then, like I said, went to the finals and came away with the gold.
Amazing. And going back, you've now finished your apprenticeship, obviously, but if we go back and talk about why you chose, what apprenticeship you did exactly and why you chose it.
So I joined the Royal Air Force as ATEC-M, or Aircraft Technician Mechanical. I went through on the previous scheme, which was an AMM scheme. So I did a shortened period of training, followed by some on-the-job training, and then returned back for phase 3. So vastly similar, actually, to his experiences of going back to training. But the newer scheme is actually slightly different, so you would do a longer period of technical training and then no further return.
Right, okay, interesting. So two quite different then routes into where we are at the moment. And Lewis, if I come back to you, because you mentioned deciding to commission. What does that actually mean? Can you break that down for us?
So what that essentially means is starting that career process again. So I still had to go to a careers office like everybody else did. I still had to complete my application online. And that would be the same as if I was walking in off the street, having just been to uni or done A-levels or whatever process led me there. That would be that same path. So going through those interviews and the application process, medicals, and the process to join the military.
And how have you found the journey so far? I imagine we've spoken quite a lot today in our sessions about the challenges that people go through, all different kinds, obviously relating to fitness, relating and fatigue, but also I suppose mentally it can be quite challenging too. How have you found your journey so far?
Rewarding, in a word. So there are opportunities like the mechanical skills courses and a whole host of things that I wouldn't necessarily have had a chance to do both previously and now. So rewarding has been one of my key takers from that.
Amazing. What about you, Ewan?
For me, the opportunities that you get outside of or within the Air Force to do things that aren't necessarily in the Air Force. So I've undertaken an Eagle scheme for parachuting. So I did 19 jumps, all funded by the RAF as part of an AT scheme to sort of develop myself and overcome my fear of heights.
Amazing.
So all of these experiences that I've gained whilst being employed and obviously working in the Royal Air Force, have made it that opportunity, the offer that the RAF give you that's what it's based around for me.
Now, I've heard a bit about these Eagle schemes. Can we expand on what exactly they are and what opportunities it gives you?
So an Eagle scheme is Adventure Training, or AT, as I'll probably refer to it, ongoing. And you can apply to do different schemes. So there would be maybe one for mountain biking, there would be caving, climbing. I did parachuting, so that involved me applying, going through the application process, putting in a personal statement and being selected to do it. So I was one of 5 who went to Weston-on-the-Green in Oxfordshire. And like I said, I did 19 jumps, which qualified me for the lowest level of qualification. So I can solo parachute.
Amazing.
Funded by the Air Force.
Well, I mean, and what a brilliant opportunity that gives you as well. And I'm hearing there's other opportunities, if people want to go skiing and things like that and learn how to face those sort of extreme temperatures and things like that. Of course, I know it's also a bit of fun at the same time, but it can be quite challenging. It sounds like you're pushed to your limits. It's not a holiday, but you are pushed to your limit. And I suppose that's one of the benefits of being a part of the RAF at this stage is you get to travel and you do get to see the world. You're not confined on a base when you get here. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I said, it's all part of the offer. It's one of the ways that the RAF develops you as well. So they offer these so that you can expand your skill set and, like I said, overcome a fear of heights or develop your team building skills or your management skills. So they're all linked back to a core skill that the RAF wants from you.
So what's next for you then? So life after an apprenticeship, how do you begin the process of deciding, first of all, where you want to go after you've done your apprenticeship, but then also thinking about, right, I'm in this role now, what lies ahead of me? Do you stick in that same role forever and just keep going? How does that work?
So that's quite a big question, really.
Yeah, so we've got time to fill.
So firstly, for me, what's next? I'm obviously living in Oxfordshire. I'm hoping to enjoy some more of the things that the RAF offers, so such as those Eagle schemes, because now that I have finished my apprenticeship, I can use the broader Air Force rather than having to focus so much on my studies. As for the part about transferring within the Royal Air Force, obviously you've seen my colleague here has managed that, but there are plenty of opportunities to transfer, often by going through an application process and using some of the skill set that you have previously, but to be able to move around in the Air Force and develop yourself in different trades.
And then I'll come to you as well, Lewis. A similar question, I suppose. You, as you say, you've been able to transfer and almost career change late in life, and the RAF has provided you with that opportunity. But where do you see things going now forward? How does the RAF support you moving forward?
So for me, I'm quite fortunate in that the branch that I'm in offers many doors, many opportunities working, with aircraft or in HQs or, UK based or around the world. So for me, next, at least, it'll be finding those right jobs, and then picking the ones that suit my personal skill set, as it were.
Now, you mentioned obviously the RAF, we talked about the Eagle schemes, they provide you with some amazing opportunities, but I suppose that is still within the RAF in terms of, we're talking about sort of debunking myths throughout these sessions, and I think one of the main things people picture, life in the RAF is maybe quite confined within the RAF. Do you get to have a life, family, pets, go on holidays? Does that work?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. It would. I don't think people would join otherwise.
Well, yeah.
So I work with many people, with wives, children, husbands, all in the civilian jobs, counterpart jobs, and it all based on personal circumstances. I know some families who move around the country, overseas, altogether. I know some families that base themselves in a location, and the serving member commutes either daily or weekly. But there is always that support from that host station that the RAF does deliver to those families as and when they need it.
I think you were telling me earlier that you've got pets and you've got a family as well. So clearly you're able to make it work too. Is it a difficult balance at times?
Sometimes it is. Obviously there is that you are committed to the Air Force, and obviously there is that service need. But for me especially, I live in Services Family Accommodation, or SFA. So I have a house on base, I have a partner, I have 2 dogs and a cat. I have all of these things, and it doesn't interfere with my service life. I'm still able to, carry out my role, but it's just that having that balance and being able to also do other things outside, like you say, there's always the opportunity.
And if I suppose you are called away and have to work, and you've got two dogs and a cat, is that right? What if nobody's around to look after them, for instance? Can the RAF provide you with help in that front, or do you have to sort of do it in a civilian perspective and put them into a kennels, that kind of thing, and still operate in that manner?
I would say it's quite different for pets as opposed to having children. There is obviously that childcare element, so the RAF provides very good childcare, especially with current policies coming in. Whereas for me, I would probably end up having a friend take care of them or something similar to that. But the childcare thing is something that's very beneficial. So later on in people's careers, if they do decide to have children and they are deployed, then the Royal Air Force does very much care for the families whilst they're away.
I'll look after the dogs. I'll give you my number. You'll be fine. But in terms of expectation as well, going through your journey within the RAF, has it met expectation? Has it been beyond your wildest dreams? Has there been worries that you've had that have been quelled since you first started?
So I am very appropriately with this, didn't go to uni and chose to join the Royal Air Force. I had a place on a degree and I chose to actually join up instead.
So what was the catalyst for that?
I decided that a more vocational route was more appropriate for me and my skills. I've always been a much more hands-on person, and through high school I didn't really have that much opportunity to talk to people about this sort of thing. And I decided, once I got my place, that it wasn't for me, and I looked into other options, and that led me to the Royal Air Force. And I'm very glad I did it. I very regularly say it's the best decision I ever made. I thoroughly enjoy my career. I've had so many chances to go to different countries and my world skills stuff. I've played lots of sport. I've used as many of the opportunities as possible, and it's been fantastic for me.
And the same question to you, Lewis, I suppose. Coming in, it gave you maybe a lifeline is to a dramatic word, but you were able to switch and do something you enjoyed and got a lot more challenge out of. Has that lived up to expectation, or were there? You've got to be brave to do that kind of thing. Actually, going from something completely different and then into the RAF.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school, so I didn't want to commit myself to a university course that perhaps I wouldn't get what I wanted to achieve at the end of it. And the RAF opened that door for me, if you like, to try new things, vocational skills, but also further down the line, if I choose to do a degree, the RAF can support me through that and fund it partially as well.
And any words of advice, I suppose, for anyone going through this stage in particular, after an apprenticeship or looking at what's going to come next when they're in the deciding moments? Have you got any advice?
I'd say at least be yourself during that application stage. There is no set mould of what the RAF expects of its people. Be yourself, be as open as you can be, and flourish with those skill sets and those different attributes that you may bring.
Ewan?
I'm going to be quite cliche and say make the most of the opportunities. Yeah. They are always there. You may need to find them. Some of them aren't necessarily as obvious, but they're usually the good ones because they're not hidden, but there's much fewer places, so they make them harder to get to, but they're definitely worth it.
Amazing. Well, look, there's certainly life after an apprenticeship. Absolutely. We can say that for certain. Thank you so much for taking the time. Stay there because we're going to come back to you a little bit later as well, but do a bit of a roundup. But now we've got another video for you looking at the different roles you can find yourself in a life after an apprenticeship and a bit about what life is like on base as well. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
So I joined the Royal Air Force because I didn't really know what to do as a career when I was younger. And talking to my dad, he used to be in the RAF, and he would tell me these stories about what he got up to and what he did. And I wanted to have a go.
When I left university, I was out of ideas of what I really wanted to do afterwards. I kept chatting to some of my friends who had served or are currently serving. Their job sounded quite fun, different and enjoyable.
The thing that attracted me most was the diversity of what you can do within the role itself.
I'm Josh,
I'm Matt.
My name is Kieran,
and I'm an aircraft technician mechanical.
I'm a aircraft technician avionics.
and I'm a supply, storage and distribution specialist. You'll be working as a crucial part of getting the aircraft off the ground, supporting all the different sections that need to work directly on the aircraft itself. As a supply, storage and distribution specialist, you can do many different roles. One of them being in tech stores, where you're sorting the kit out and distributing it to relevant sections. You can be in fuels. There's the mobility support flight. There's also SCAF, which is a controlled accounting flight, where you'll be doing more of an office-based job.
So as an aircraft technician mechanical, I work with the mechanical aspects of the aircraft, hydraulics, anything to do with servicings, removal and replacement of components, functional tests of those components to see if the aircraft's working after you've ripped something out and put it back in.
So my role as an aircraft technician avionics is to look after all the electrical systems on the aircraft, including all the power, communications, navigation, radar and defensive systems.
My initial expectation of going into training was that you'd be on your own and it would be sort of individual trying to get yourself through the course, but in actual fact you're just one big team trying to get each other through.
The theory side, the maths, the science was challenging, but with the group they get you through. You work together as a team, revise, and yeah, you get through.
I expected it to be more strict, more disciplined, more shouting, more running about, but actually all they wanted to see was hard work, discipline and teamwork, getting the most out of you, making you prepared to finishing and then coming and being an asset to the Air Force afterwards.
During your Phase 2 training, it is more geared towards the actual trade that you're going into. For me personally, it was going through all the different sections that you'll be working in. You'll get taught on a basic level everything that you need to know. You'll go through different exams, practical and theory, but of course you will always get help from your supervisors, your corporals and sergeants whenever you need it.
Facilities on unit are quite numerous. We have a really good gym here.
So many sports to be played, basketball, rugby, football, golf. There's a swimming pool on base, there's even a bowling alley.
Hairdressers, dentists, hospital.
The accommodation and the food is subsidised, it's all nice.
It is a mini town really.
One of the best things about the apprenticeship is that I was offered a 12-year contract from the start. You've got job security right at the end of the apprenticeship, so you don't have to worry yourself about going into another job, and you can just develop your career from that point onwards, so it's a really good starting point.
Hello, welcome back to Parents Evening Live from RAF Cranwell. Now, we're in a different location. We're going to be enjoying what has been our beautiful backdrop so far over these last few sessions, which is the Heritage Centre. I'm going to give you a little tour. And it's fantastic, actually, because this RAF Cranwell base is actually one of the most famous landmarks in RAF history out of all the bases as well. There's so much on offer here to have a look around. Fascinating stories from when it was first a Royal Naval Air Service base to what it is in its current guise today. You might recognise this, one of the a model replica of a Red Arrow, moving bases actually in a couple of years actually to RAF Waddington to expand there. So Red Arrow's obviously an absolute staple. And here we've got some brilliant portraits from some of the men that have given their lives in service, and actually all of these men have earned the prestigious Victoria Cross from World War II. In fact, this one on the far left, this is Flight Sergeant A.L. Aaron, who that sustained quite bad injuries during a plane crash, couldn't fly his plane back home. The engineer on board was able to fly the plane back home thanks to Sergeant A.L. Aaron's guidance, and he was able to sort of almost mime him how to get home because he couldn't talk. But sadly, he lost his life at the end of that journey. But just one of the men up here who has gone above and beyond their service and that Victoria Cross. So it's fascinating to read their stories here. So I do encourage you to come here if you can. Check it out online as well, and how to get here, a book during the opening times of it. And then we're going to come through here as well. And we've got squadron history here, 55 and the 45 squadron. Now, this is the 45 squadron from 45th Squadron from their flag, and that's from 1917. That's actually before the RAF became a thing, really. The RAF was named the RAF in 1918, so the year before that. So it's brilliant to see some of the historical significance here. And then if we come across as well to more of the 45th Squadron, still alive and kicking today. So even before it became the RAF, now still evolving, and you can see the history of it up here as well, and just have a look at some of the aircrafts they've gone through. It's really fascinating stuff. We've got 55 Squadron over here too, so diary entries and calendars, handwritten as well. It's brilliant to see just some of the thoughts and the processes that some of the flight sergeants went through during this period. So amazing stuff in the 45th and the 55th Squadron as well, here at the RAF Cranwell Heritage Centre. Now we're going to come back through here. Our cameraman doing an excellent job of walking backwards, and we've got some outfits to have a look at as well. Outfits, uniforms, I think is the better word to say. If we see some of the smarter stuff here, especially the suit at the back. Now that is, I'm told, called the mess dress for some of the more formal opportunities available in the RAF. You've also got a flight suit as well. And this is, well, it's not really a suit you want to find somebody wearing or wear yourself. Now, it's called CDRN. If you wear that, you're good from chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats. But you don't really want to be wearing that, but it's hefty stuff, and I'm told wearing it is not that pleasant either. You've got the rubber gloves as well, inner gloves. There's a material on the underside of this. This is quite waterproof too, and obviously you've got the covers on the boots too. He's got similar sized feet to me actually, so I could probably nick those. And over here, another uniform as well. This is actually the uniform of Air Marshal Sir Eric Dunn. Now Eric joined the RAF as an aircraft apprentice in 1944, so it seemed quite apt to show that, seeing as all evening long we'll be talking about being an apprentice and your journey through the RAF. So still the uniform here on display, just sort of marking the fantastic history that the RAF has on offer. And this is just a small section as well. They've got a flight simulation here too. There's other rooms that we can't quite show you now, but we thought we'd give you a little bit of an inside look. There's a gift shop as well, because all good places have a gift shop, right? So if you want your own mug or a little plane or a little pen, badge as well, you can take those too. And if you are deciding, I suppose, to have a life, have a career within the RAF, or indeed you're gearing up to do so, I would imagine it would be great to come to a place like this beforehand and just immerse yourself in the atmosphere as well. But also, it's quite a nice thing to do this December, because there is a free family Christmas trail that RAF Cranwell are putting on. No need to book, just show up. Go to the front desk, let them know you're here, and they'll give you a little sheet, and then you can get going. So plenty to do. So just a little taste of what's on offer there now. Quick mic switch. Have you had a look around there?
I did before while we was yeah, a little nosy.
But it must be amazing to sort of be a part of, I mean, that's just the smallest part of the history and the culture that the RAF has experienced and develops, but it must be a special feeling being a part of the RAF.
Absolutely. I mean, we had our centenary in 2018, which is not really a lot compared to the British Army or the Royal Navy. However, if you think that, you know, at the start of those 100 years, or when we first learnt to fly with the Wright brothers, and where we are now with a space force, we really have come a long way in those 100 years.
Did you ever think you'd end up doing what you're doing now? No, never.
Absolutely not. Again, those doors open, and whatever path you choose, you know, take opportunities as and when they arise. Absolutely not.
Do you echo those sentiments, Ewan? Because I suppose, I mean, everyone's had a chance to look around there earlier too, but just even if you're not based at RAF Cranwell, you know, you If you're driving up this part in the United Kingdom, you can drive almost in either direction just for a few hours and you'll see a sign that's pointing to an RAF base. So the presence they have across the UK is remarkable. If you get the chance to go on base, it's something quite special, actually.
Definitely, and also there's opportunities like the Families Days that most stations hold, where they'll often put on a flying display, and it's an opportunity for the general public to actually come onto camp for the most part and see what life is about.
What would you say to somebody, because as you mentioned, you have family and a life of people who aren't involved in the RAF, or I imagine you have friends as well who aren't in the RAF. What would you say to somebody who was thinking about doing it or wasn't sure what to do? If university wasn't quite the right choice, or they got nearly as far as you onto a course and then backed out at the last minute, what would you say to them to either convince them or just to have a look at what the RAF offers? Because it's not, I don't think, the first on everybody's list, because I don't think they realise, and that's what we're trying to do here, just how much is on offer and how much you can do. Because if you join the RAF, you don't have to be a pilot.
Yeah, well, definitely. If it's on your radar or if it's an option for you, 100% go for it. I have had the best experience throughout my career. And if it's something that you're a little bit daunted about, the idea of being in the service and how that effect will transfer onto your family members and friends, I live a perfectly normal life. I have family and friends outside of the Air Force. There's never an issue with that for me. It's never prevented me in any way.
Can you pinpoint a highlight so far of being a part of the RAF? Is there one thing that stands out?
So for me, obviously, is that gold medal. Without the RAF, I wouldn't have had that opportunity to go and get it, and I wouldn't have had the time to be able to practice, and I wouldn't have made it.
Is it quite heavy?
It's fairly heavy.
Fairly heavy. On the mantelpiece somewhere? Yeah, very.
It's hung up already.
Oh, love it. Of course. Oh, absolutely. You actually get to keep it, because sometimes you win it and they whisk it off somewhere else. You get a replica. Yeah, you get it. It's yours. No one else is getting that. And what about you, Lewis? As well, a highlight, one standout memory so far that you've been able to achieve?
I think my graduation from here at Cranwell when I commissioned as a standout sort of RAF feature, but I also did some sailing. A joint services sailing with the Royal Navy and the British Army. So on the sort of social other opportunities side of things, sailing from New York to Halifax, Nova Scotia was a real highlight.
How long did that take?
So it was 2 weeks on a sailing yacht, learning new skills, engaging with people in different services, and generally having a laugh.
Yeah, are you left a bit to your own devices and that kind of thing, or are you guided through it, or how does that work?
Absolutely guided through. Yeah. So you have people from the service who are competent and qualified in that sports, if you like, and then I got the opportunity to learn a new skill and thrown in at the deep end slightly.
Every time I come to an RAF base, I'm always, I don't know why I need to stop being surprised, really, because the amount of opportunity that there is, all the skills, let's make no bones about it, it is tough being a part of the RAF, the things you've got to go through, you've got to have the right mindset, I suppose, absolutely, but the opportunities it opens up for you, you can have a family, you can have a life outside, but also you can do all these amazing things, you can travel, learn new skills. It's hard to really kind of identify as to where else you might get that. Is there anything that you might have done instead? Because actually you felt like a degree and what you did wasn't for you. Were there other options before you decided to switch to the RAF, or was it just RAF?
For me, it was RAF. I found that my interests from school, sixth form, have changed. So I was quite interested in geography. I use it a little bit in my job now, but that's really about it. So my interest had swayed massively on what I wanted to do. But for me, once I realised, the RAF, and I'd done my research and careers offices and things like that, then that's the direction I headed.
Amazing. Well, look, we've taken up far too much of your time already. You and Lewis, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. It's really fascinating to hear all about life after the apprenticeship. And thank you as well for tuning in for all of our sessions so far. If you want to watch anything back, it'll all be available on the Not Going to Uni YouTube channel, as well as things will be available on the Not Going to Uni website as well. Find out more information about the RAF by visiting the RAF website. We've also got a live chat going, I believe, which you can ask some questions in still, or drop a note in the comments below, and we'll do our very best. But thank you for taking the time. I've been Harry Benjamin, and we'll see you for our next RAF Live. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. If you want to find out more information, you can head to our website, notgoingtouni.co.uk, and we'll see you at the next RAF Live.